Okay, last session we discussed about the basic primitive types. So we learnt about the basic primitive types. Actually, in Typescript, primitive types, primitive data types, we learnt about them, and I given an example for all of them. What are the basic primitive types we are having? A number type, we have a string type, a boolean type, and yesterday we learnt about null type and undefined type. So what are those types and how to use these types? Few examples we learned. See, we are learning all the language basics because here we are not going to see any examples because syntaxes we are going to understand, because this language we are going to utilize in our Angular. When we are using this language in Angular, then we can work with examples. So here we have to learn all about the language and how it works, right? So now after understanding the primitive data types, now we need to know another important, the non-primitive types. Typescript non-primitive types. What are the various non-primitive types available? Technically, what are non-primitive types and how these non-primitive types work? Let's see. So as I already explained few points about them. So non-primitive types are stored in a memory heap. Non-primitive types are stored in memory heap. Actually, heap is the computer's cache memory. And the memory varies, means the size of memory varies according to browser and device. So that is the reason here they do not have any will vary according to browser and device. The value range will vary according to browser and device. So the Typescript non-primitive types don't have any fixed range for values. The value range will vary according to the browser and device, because non-primitive types are not stored in a fixed memory. They are stored in a heap memory, and heap memory can handle any range of value, and it can go maximum up to how much memory it is having. Due to that, the non-primitive types cannot have any fixed range for value. They can change. They can change according to the memory. So whereas primitive types are having a fixed range for value. That means you can exactly tell that it will be within this range, minimum and maximum. But we don't have any fixed range for these values. Another important point is they are non-primitive types are stored. Non-primitive types are stored and stored and accessed by a reference in memory. By a reference in memory. They are stored and accessed by a reference in memory. That means not directly, that is not directly stored in memory, not directly stored in memory. They are allocated with a reference in memory. That means in memory, again a reference is allocated for them. Actually, primitive types are directly stored in the memory and they will have a name for that memory. Now, non-primitive types, in the main memory, again they allocate a reference in the memory. I will show you that. That means they allocate a memory for the main memory. So they do not have a direct memory. I will show you a reference in the memory. So what are the non-primitive types here? Let's see. That means actually what happens is we have value type. Value types are allocated with memory. They are allocated with memory. And the memory will have a name. In the memory, the value will be directly stored. That is what actually primitive type. But when it is a non-primitive type, when it is a non-primitive type, the main memory is allocated. And in the main memory, again, the sub-memories are allocated. And every memory will have a reference. 0, 1, 2 reference. In that memory reference, the values are stored. Now we can access them. The values are not accessed directly by using X. Here it is accessed by using X. X means it is 10. But here you have to access by using a reference of the memory. That is 0, it is having 10. And 1, it is having 20, like this. This is what we generally called as non-primitive types. Non-primitive types are not accessed directly by the memory allocated. They have a reference in the main memory. So in the main memory,